Ever wonder why some people stay calm in chaos while others fall apart? What if there was an ancient playbook to master your mind and conquer adversity? Imagine building a mind so unbreakable that no setback can shatter your peace. Welcome to Marcus Aurelius Stoic Resilience. Today we're exploring Stoic wisdom for mental toughness. In a world that rewards speed but punishes fragility, we need mental armor more than ever. Think of the Stoics as ancient warriors of the mind, men and women who faced famine, war, betrayal, exile, yet maintained unshakable calm. This isn't about suppressing emotions or being robotic. It's about training your mind to face whatever life throws at you. Today, we're going to break down timeless lessons, practical tools you can use to build resilience, conquer fear, and live with purpose. No abstract theory here, just actionable philosophy you can apply every day. So if you're tired of letting stress rule you, if you want to move through hardship with grace, if you want to transform challenges into opportunities for growth, then you're in the right place. Let's step into the mind of a Stoic and discover the wisdom that makes you truly unbreakable. Let's begin with the foundation of Stoic mental toughness. Control what you can, accept what you can't. Epictetus taught this as the first rule of philosophy. Know what is in your power and what isn't. In modern life, we waste so much energy raging against what we cannot change. We worry about other people's opinions. We fixate on the past. We dread the future. But the Stoic knows these things are beyond our command. Instead, we turn inward, asking, what can I actually do? How can I respond with integrity? Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You can honk, curse, seethe with rage, but the cars won't move faster. What you control is your response, your breathing, your thoughts. This is where your power lies. When you truly embrace this lesson, you become unshakable. Life will still throw storms at you, but you'll know how to steer your ship. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled during plague and war, wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't writing for others. He was writing to steady his own mind. Imagine carrying that phrase in your pocket today. When you get bad news, when someone insults you, when plans fall apart, remind yourself, I have power over my mind. This practice turns obstacles into training grounds. Instead of being defeated by adversity, you're forged by it, like metal strengthened by fire. Ask yourself right now, what stress am I clinging to that I can't control? How would it feel to let it go? To focus only on what's mine to change. That's the first pillar of Stoic mental toughness. The second lesson is to practice voluntary hardship. This sounds harsh, but it's deeply freeing. Seneca wrote about rehearsing for poverty, fasting, sleeping on the floor. Why would a wealthy senator choose discomfort? Because he wanted to train his mind not to fear it. He wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition that I feared?" In modern terms, this might mean turning off your phone for a day, skipping a meal, taking a cold shower, challenging yourself to sit with boredom or discomfort without fleeing. These small acts build mental calluses. They remind you that comfort is a luxury, not a necessity. And when real hardship arrives, you'll be ready, because you've trained for it. The third pillar is emotional awareness and discipline. Stoicism is not emotional suppression. It's emotional mastery. Think of anger, fear, envy. These emotions aren't evil, but they can be destructive if unexamined. The Stoics taught us to notice these feelings, to question them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This isn't denying pain, it's understanding its source. It's taking responsibility for our interpretations. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you can choose anger, or you can choose understanding. When plans fail, you can choose despair or curiosity. What can I learn here? Emotional discipline doesn't mean you're unfeeling. It means you're free. Free from being ruled by every impulse. Another core Stoic tool is journaling. The ancients weren't afraid to interrogate themselves. Every night Marcus Aurelius would ask himself, "What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? How can I do better tomorrow?" This daily self-examination isn't about guilt, it's about growth. Imagine ending each day with those questions. You'd wake up clearer, more intentional. Seneca wrote letters to friends that were really letters to himself. A place to wrestle with ideas, fears, goals. Journaling is your training ground for life. Finally, Stoic mental toughness requires us to remember impermanence. Memento mori, remember. You must die. This sounds dark, but it's actually liberating. When you realize life is short, you stop wasting it. You forgive faster. You speak kinder. You prioritize what matters. A fear of death becomes the fuel for living well. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself daily that he was mortal, not to depress himself, but to sharpen his sense of purpose. As he wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." So as you listen to this first part of our journey, ask yourself, what can you let go of today? How can you practice small hardships to build resilience? How can you better understand your emotions instead of being controlled by them? How will you live knowing you will die? These aren't questions for philosophers alone. They're for all of us. And that's just the beginning. On page 2, we're going to dive even deeper. We'll look at the tools and reflections that make Stoic wisdom truly practical for building an unbreakable mind. Stay with me. Let's keep exploring this ancient path to modern mental toughness together. Page 2. Stoic Wisdom for Mental Toughness. Last time we uncovered the foundations of Stoic mental toughness. Control what you can. Accept what you can't. Train for discomfort. Master your emotions. Remember you will die. But knowing these ideas isn't enough. You have to live them. That's where this next part of our journey takes us. How do we make Stoicism a daily practice? So it's not just words in a book, but armor for the mind. Let's begin with the practice of negative visualization. The Stoics called it premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. They believed you should regularly imagine things going wrong, losing your job, falling, ill, losing someone you love. Why? Not to become pessimistic or fearful, but to inoculate yourself against surprise, to appreciate what you have. Seneca wrote, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." When you imagine loss, you value what you have more deeply. When you expect hardship, you face it with preparation instead of panic. Think about it. We insure our cars, our homes, our health, why not our minds? Imagine waking up tomorrow and asking yourself, what if today goes badly? What if I'm delayed, disappointed, betrayed? How will I respond? This isn't dwelling on negativity, it's building readiness. It's choosing to respond instead of react. So when it comes, you're not crushed, you're prepared. You're steady. Another key Stoic idea is amor fati, the love of fate. Not just accepting what happens, but embracing it. Seeing every event, even the painful ones, as necessary for your growth. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Think about that image. A strong fire doesn't complain about what's thrown in. It consumes it and becomes brighter. How would your life change if you saw every obstacle as fuel? Instead of cursing, setbacks, you'd ask, how can I use this? How can this make me wiser, stronger, kinder? Amor fati is radical acceptance. Not passive resignation, but an active choice to see meaning in everything. Picture your biggest disappointment right now, a failure, a betrayal, a loss. Now ask, what did it teach me? How did it make me grow? Amor fati turns you from victim to student of life. And that's the root of resilience. Because no one escapes suffering, but you can choose how you carry it. Another practice the Stoics used was objective judgment, one of Marcus Aurelius's favorite. Reminders to himself was, you have power over your mind, not outside events. He would strip situations of emotional language. Instead of saying, this is unbearable, he would say, this is an event. Instead of, this is a disaster, he would say, this is change. Why? Because words shape feelings. If you call something a catastrophe, you'll panic. If you call it a challenge, you'll prepare. This isn't denial. It's reframing. It's controlling the story you tell yourself. Because the story you choose shapes how you feel and act. Let's make it real. Your flight is canceled. Do you say, this ruins everything? Or, this is an opportunity to practice patience? Someone insults you. Do you think they humiliated? Or they offered their opinion. I can choose mine. The Stoic doesn't pretend emotions don't exist. They master them by mastering the narrative. And that makes you unbreakable. Another essential tool is daily reflection. Marcus Aurelius would write each night asking, what did I do well? Where did I fail? What can I do better? This isn't self-punishment, it's self-mastery. Like an athlete reviewing game tape. Honest feedback is how you grow. Imagine ending each day asking yourself, where did I lose my temper? Where did I show courage? Where did I react instead of respond? Over time, these reflections transform you, because you can't improve what you don't examine. The Stoics also believed in keeping death in mind as a guide for living. Memento mori. Remember you will die. Seneca wrote, let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. When you remember life is short, you stop wasting it. You say what matters. You forgive faster. You cherish loved ones. Modern life encourages forgetting mortality. But ignoring death doesn't make it disappear. It makes you waste your days. The Stoic faces mortality to sharpen purpose. To say, if this were my last day, would I spend it this way? Let's pause. Take a breath. Think about today. What would change if you remembered you might not get another? Who would you forgive? What would you say? What would you stop putting off? Memento mori isn't about gloom. It's about gratitude, living urgently, purposefully. So let's recap. Negative visualization prepares you for setbacks. Amor fati turns obstacles into fuel. Objective judgment reframes suffering. Daily reflection makes you better each day. Memento mori is your life urgency and meaning. These aren't abstract ideas. They're tools, practices you can use right now, today. On page 3, we're going even deeper. We'll uncover how to strengthen these practices with emotional mastery, discipline, and daily rituals that make Stoicism living philosophy. Stay with me as we build your unbreakable mind together. So far, we've armed ourselves with the mental tools of the Stoic warrior. We've practiced negative visualization to prepare, amor fati to embrace what comes, objective judgment to control the story we tell ourselves, daily reflection to become better each day, memento mori to remember life's urgency. But there's more to building an unbreakable mind. Because knowing these tools isn't enough, you have to train them. Let's start with discipline. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's the power to choose the right thing even when it's hard. In modern life, distractions are endless. Notifications buzz. Temptations pop up. Comfort whispers, relax. But comfort doesn't make you tough. Challenge does. Every time you resist a small temptation, you strengthen your will. Every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you train your mind like a muscle. Imagine this. You're tired after work. Your body says, skip the workout. Your phone says, scroll for hours. Your mind says, you deserve a break. But you choose to move, to read, to create. That's discipline. It's not glamorous. It's not easy. But it's the foundation of mental toughness. Seneca wrote, "We treat the body rigorously, so it may not be disobedient to the mind." How often do we let our impulses rule us? The Stoic trains to flip that balance. Mind over mood, will over want. Another core principle is emotional control. Modern culture tells us just let it out. But the Stoics knew emotions can mislead. Anger feels righteous, but often destroys. Fear can protect, but also paralyze. Desire can motivate, but also enslave. Emotional control doesn't mean suppression. It means mastery. It's pausing before you react, choosing your response. Imagine you're insulted. The impulse is to lash out. The Stoic breathes and asks, is this worth my peace? Is this under my control? Will this matter in a year? That pause is power. It's reclaiming your mind from the world's chaos. Picture Marcus Aurelius writing in his tent on campaign, surrounded by war, betrayal, disease. Yet he writes, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not theory, it's practice. If an emperor facing collapse could choose calm, so can we. But it takes training. It's asking in each conflict, what virtue is called for here? Is this courage, patience, forgiveness? What does my best self do now? Another powerful Stoic habit is voluntary discomfort. Seneca would sleep on the ground, wear coarse clothes, eat plain food. Not because he loved suffering, but because he wanted to remember he could handle it. In a world obsessed with convenience, this practice is radical. When you choose discomfort voluntarily, you stop fearing it. Cold showers, fasting, challenging workouts. These aren't trends, they're training. Training your mind to say, I can handle this. Imagine the next time life forces discomfort on you. You don't panic because you've been here before. You've practiced. You know you'll survive. The Stoics also used role models. They believed wisdom isn't just in books, but in people. Epictetus said, seek someone to emulate, someone whose life, speech, and values you respect. Who do you look up to? Not celebrities or influencers, but people of character, people who stay calm in crisis, who choose integrity over gain. Imagine asking before a tough choice, what would they do? How would they handle this? When you emulate the wise, you become wise. But Stoicism isn't about copying others mindlessly. It's about finding your own clarity. It's why journaling was so essential. Marcus Aurelius didn't write for publication. He wrote for himself. He argued with himself on the page, reminded himself of his principles. Imagine starting or ending your day writing, where did I act with virtue? Where did I fall short? What can I do better? This isn't punishment, it's evolution. Reflection makes you your own teacher, your own mentor. The Stoics believed community also mattered. You're not an island. Seneca wrote, no one can live happily who has regard only for himself and transforms everything into a question of his own utility. Even as you master your mind, remember you're part of the whole. Stoic toughness isn't coldness. It's compassion. When you strengthen yourself, you serve others better. You can listen without judgment, help without pride, lead without ego. Because real resilience isn't brittle. It bends and absorbs. It's strong because it's kind. Let's take a moment to breathe. Reflect on the tools we've added. Discipline the choice of challenge over comfort. Emotional control the pause before reaction. Voluntary discomfort training for adversity. Role models learning. Through others. Journaling becoming your own guide. Community serving the greater good. Together they form a framework for a resilient life. A life that meets chaos with calm, hardship with courage, insult with understanding. On page 4, we'll explore how to weave these practices into daily life, making Stoicism not just a philosophy, but a lifestyle. You live, a guide for work, relationships, stress, and uncertainty. Let's keep building this unbreakable mind together. Now we've armed ourselves with tools of the mind, discipline, emotional control, voluntary discomfort, role models, journaling, community. But what does it look like to actually live these ideas every day? This page is about weaving Stoic practice into the daily moments, the mundane, the stressful, the beautiful. Because mental toughness isn't built in grand gestures alone, it's forged in daily choices. Let's start with the morning ritual. Marcus Aurelius began his days by reminding himself he'd meet people who were rude, selfish, ignorant. He didn't do this to be cynical. He did it to be prepared. Imagine you wake up and expect everyone to be kind and patient. The first angry driver ruins your mood. But if you expect challenges, you're not surprised. You're ready. This is mental armor for the day. Before you even leave your bed, you can ask, what virtues will I need today? Where might I be tested? What kind of person do I want to be no matter what happens? This is not complicated, but it's powerful. Next is intentional presence. Stoics valued awareness of the present moment. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." How often do we ruin a good moment worrying about something that hasn't happened yet, or replaying something that's already over? Imagine being at dinner with family, but your mind is on tomorrow's meeting, or taking a walk, but thinking about yesterday's argument. Mental toughness means training your mind to be here, to taste the food, listen to your friend, feel the breeze. This isn't weakness, it's strength, because you can't face what's next if you're lost in what's not here. Then there's controlling your narrative. The stories we tell ourselves shape our reality. You didn't get the job due. You say, "I'm a failure," or "I'm learning." A friend cancels plans. Do you say, "They don't care," or "Maybe they're struggling"? The Stoic trains to see things objectively. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." You don't control what happens, but you control what it means. Imagine turning every setback into a lesson, every insult into an opportunity to practice patience, every delay into a chance to breathe. This is the art of reframing, of choosing a story that strengthens rather than weakens. Mindful speech is another daily practice. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Think of how often we regret words spoken in anger, fear, ego. Mental toughness means choosing words carefully, not to deceive, but to heal, to clarify, to encourage. Imagine pausing before you speak, asking, "Is this true? Is this necessary? Is this kind?" This doesn't mean silence, it means intentional speech. When you speak with purpose, you lead with wisdom. Facing discomfort is a daily opportunity. Most of us seek comfort automatically. The easy route, the shortcut, the escape. But the Stoic seeks challenge, not to suffer for suffering's sake, but to train for life. That hard conversation you're avoiding, it's training. That workout you don't want to do, it's training. That moment you choose to listen instead of argue, it's training. Each small act of voluntary discomfort makes you stronger for when real difficulty strikes. You don't have to climb a mountain today, but you can take the stairs. You don't have to fast for days, but you can skip the dessert. These tiny acts of willpower build a resilient mind. Evening reflection is essential. Marcus Aurelius would ask himself, "Where did I act with virtue today? Where did I fall short? What can I do better tomorrow?" This isn't beating yourself up, it's learning. Imagine ending your day not with regret, but with understanding. Not blaming the world, but asking, what was in my control? What will I choose next time? It's like reviewing game footage after practice, not to punish, but to improve. Finally, serving others. Seneca wrote, "No one can live happily who has regard only for himself." Modern culture says toughness is selfishness. Never show weakness. Take what you can. But real mental toughness is rooted in compassion. You can listen without interrupting, help without seeking credit, forgive without being asked. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to choose it. Imagine being the calm in someone else's storm, a voice of reason when others panic, a safe space when someone needs understanding. This is Stoic service. This is resilient humanity. Together, these daily practices create a lifestyle, not philosophy in a book, but living wisdom. Mental toughness isn't about being unfeeling. It's about feeling deeply, but not being ruled by those feelings. About choosing your response instead of reacting automatically. About making life better for yourself and everyone you meet. Transition to page 5. On page 5, we'll bring everything together. A grand reflection on what it means to live with mental toughness. A final call to embrace Stoic wisdom in every moment. And an invitation to keep this journey alive with us. Let's keep going. So here we are, 5 pages deep into a conversation that's not just about philosophy, but about living. About becoming someone you respect, someone you trust, someone who can stand in the chaos of life and breathe calmly. This is Stoic wisdom for mental toughness. But it's really wisdom for living well, for being whole, for being free. Take a breath with me right now. Imagine everything you've faced in your life, every setback, every loss, every triumph, every quiet moment when you felt strong or fragile. Each of those moments trained you, even if you didn't know it. That's what the Stoics saw. Life isn't something that happens to you. It's something that shapes you. And the question is, will you let it shape you by accident or by choice? Think about Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire in crisis, facing betrayal, plague, war. He didn't have the luxury of an easy life, but every night he asked himself, where did I act with virtue? Where did I fall short? What can I do better tomorrow? This wasn't about perfection. It was about practice, about refusing to waste even a single day. Or Epictetus, born into slavery, physically beaten, scarred, and yet free in the only way that matters. He taught that no one could control your mind unless you let them, that everything can be taken from you, except your power to choose your response. Imagine that level of freedom, that strength, that's mental toughness. Seneca wrote letters to friends facing exile, loss, fear. He told them, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. He reminded them to rehearse misfortunes, to practice being poor, to know that nothing could truly shake them because they had prepared their minds. He didn't promise a painless life. He promised an unbreakable spirit. That's what we're talking about here. Not numbness, not cold detachment, but the kind of strength that lets you feel everything without being destroyed by it. The kind of wisdom that sees pain, anger, fear, and says, let me learn from this. The kind of courage that doesn't roar but whispers. Try again. A kind of temperance that says, enough. I don't need more to be whole. The kind of justice that treats every person as worthy of respect, even when it's hard. Let's get personal for a moment. How often do you find yourself reacting instead of responding? Snapping at someone you love because you're tired. Worrying about something you can't control. Losing an entire day to fear about the future. These are normal, human, but they're also opportunities. Every time you catch yourself is a chance to practice. A rep for your mental muscles. A moment of choice. Imagine if your first thought in stress was, what virtue is being tested here? When you feel anger, can I practice patience? When you feel fear, can I practice courage? When you want more, can I practice temperance? When you feel wronged, can I practice justice? These aren't slogans, they're tools. Weapons for the battles of everyday life. Armor for your mind and heart. And it doesn't end here, because real wisdom is lived. It's not what you know, It's what you do. When you close this video, podcast, or page, what will you choose? Will you go back to autopilot? Or will you notice the tiny chances to choose better? To breathe before you speak. To see clearly before you act. To be present before you worry. That's the work. That's the practice. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. Willing to try. Willing to fail and learn. Willing to see your own mind and shape it carefully. Like a sculptor seeing the statue in the marble. You carve away what isn't you, what doesn't serve you, until what remains is clear, solid, true. Because in the end, mental toughness isn't about feeling nothing. It's about feeling everything and not letting it break you. It's not about ignoring fear. It's about walking forward with fear as your companion. It's not about avoiding discomfort. It's about seeking it as a teacher. It's not about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. So here's your challenge. Start small. One mindful breath before you react. One honest reflection at the end of the day. One act of courage where you used to hide. One moment of gratitude when you feel lacking. One choice for justice when revenge feels easy. One quiet act of temperance in a world screaming for more. These are the building blocks of an unbreakable mind. Thank you for walking this journey with us. If this message brought you even a moment of clarity, welcome to the channel. Marcus Aurelius Stoic Resilience is here to help you live these truths every day. Like, subscribe, and share if you want to keep building this practice together. Comment below. What virtue will you focus on today? Let's hold each other accountable. Let's grow together. Until next time, stay grounded. Stay grateful. Stay stoic.